Hello and welcome into another fantasy hockey video. Today's video will be my week 2 discussion. A little late on this. I was kind of sick this week still. I'm all healthy now though, so we're good to go. Next video I do will be Q&A format again, so drop your comments down below in the comment section. I will respond to them in a video I do on Monday. That being said, like and subscribe if you like the videos and you like the channel, and let's get into the first player to talk about. And obviously we have to start out talking about the players from the Dubois and Laine trade. Now personally, I think for both teams this was kind of a good trade. Neither guy really seemed to want to be where they were at, and considering what position Jarmo Kekalainen got put in by Pierre-Luc Dubois, I'd say he made out fantastic for what he got for Pierre-Luc Dubois with Laine and Jack Roslovic for a third in Pierre-Luc Dubois. I think Columbus won that trade just because a player like Laine is hard to get. A guy who can pot 40 goals pretty easily. He got 3 points in his first game this year. I think his scoring will still be good. But let's talk about Pierre-Luc Dubois. Pierre-Luc Dubois, I don't think is probably going to be above a point per game in Winnipeg. I think on the second line where he'll be with Ehlers and Kopp, he will be productive, maybe a point per game, but I don't think he's going to be above that. Pierre-Luc Dubois is a good offensive player, but he's not a great offensive player. He's a complete center, so do keep that in mind. He should, however, slide into this Winnipeg power play, which has Wheeler, Scheifele, Morrissey, and Kyle Connor on it. He should take Paul Stastny's spot there. So maybe, just maybe, that can push Dubois over the edge of being a point per game player. I don't think it will, but I think it could. So I think Pierre-Luc Dubois, if someone dropped him in your league because of the early season issues that you have with John Tortorella and the Columbus Blue Jackets in general, you might be able to get him for cheap too. And if you want to trade for him, I don't think it's a bad move to trade for him depending on what you have to give up. Pierre-Luc Dubois is someone who should start to trend upward once he hits the ice for Winnipeg. As for Laine does not have the best company with him on the Blue Jackets. They're just not the most offensively talented team. And if I had to guess where Laine slots in here, I'm going to say he probably slides in on the line with Grigorenko and Domi. I think they like Bjorkstrand with Texier and Foligno, so I think he slides in next to Domi. I think Domi is the best playmaker on the team if I had to put my money on the table for a guy. So I think they're going to pair Laine there. Laine will obviously be in the gunner position on the power play. This guy has that 40-goal potential. I think Laine is going to be pretty motivated as well. People are worried about him and Tortorella not meshing well. I think Tortorella is going to love this guy, and even if he doesn't love his game, he is going to act like he loves his game and give this kid every opportunity, because if Laine doesn't work out in Columbus, Tortorella will be out of a job. So I think Tortorella's hand is kind of pushed there. So I think Laine will be fine and should probably be a top 50 player, maybe top 30, maybe probably not top 20, just because the talent around him isn't going to help him too much. But I think Laine will be just fine, and I wouldn't be worried about him if you own him in fantasy once he gets back on the ice. We then move into someone who's been struggling lately. No points in his last 4 games, Mika Zibanejad. He's on the center. He's the center of the first line and first power play in New York, and I'd like to think Zibanejad will pick it up. He's still getting a decent amount of ice time, over 20 minutes a game. He's still in all the good positions. He's a guy who went back-to-back 70-point seasons, was well above a point per game last year, had the best goals to game ratio last year. Maybe he doesn't reach that peak that he was at last year, but he's definitely not a player to cut this early. You drafted him way too high. You probably got him in the latter half of the first round if you're in a deeper league, or somewhere in the second round, maybe third round if you got lucky. But you don't cut bait with a player who you drafted that high 7 games into the season. You don't do that. It's a 56 game season. He's going to pick it up. I'd be very surprised if he didn't. You can't cut a player like this until 20 games in, at least in my opinion. You got to hold on and just hope that he figures it out and starts playing better. We then go to someone who, I believe someone asked me about Mika Zibanejad in the comments and UC Saros, and I wrote them down to talk about them. I can't remember who asked me, but someone asked me to talk about UC Saros, and I'm not worried about UC Saros at all. He had a bad 2-game stretch against Dallas, but besides that, UC Saros has been fantastic. 2 very good performances against Columbus, a good performance against Chicago, and that's the thing I have to remind you with seeing those 2 bad games against Dallas is there aren't many great teams in the Central Division. You have Dallas, Carolina, and Tampa. Outside of that, Nashville might be the fourth best team in this division. No lie. So they have a lot of beatable teams. So Saros should get a decent amount of wins. He's going to get the majority of starts over Pecorine because Pecorine is old and not what he once was. Some people are concerned about Saros because of his size. I just think his positioning and his reflexes and all that just overcompensate for that, to the point where I don't really care about his size much when I look at UC Saros on paper, and I've watched him play. He's got some good talent. Yes, he's going to have some bad nights, but I think overall the good will outweigh the bad from UC Saros, and you should be happy if you have UC Saros on your roster and keep him on it, assuming you roster 3 goalies in your league. If you roster 2, maybe a back end, but if you're in a 3 goalie league, you should definitely hold on to UC Saros. We then move on to the Dallas Stars, who got a little bit of a late start to their season, but I'm big on a few of these guys who are lesser owned, specifically Denis Gurianov and Roope Hintz. Roope Hintz is missing a few games right now. He's listed as day-to-day, but once he gets back into the lineup, Roope Hintz is looking like a player who could break out this year. He was someone I was pretty high on coming into the season. He was my sleeper pick. He's the first-line center in Dallas when he's healthy. And then Denis Gurianov just in the playoffs showed he has a good scoring touch, and this year it looks like that's continuing. So Dallas might have 2 guys who flew under the radar a little bit, only owned 39% for Gurianov and 44% of leagues for Hintz. And I think those numbers will go up, and if you're lucky enough to have one of those guys available in your free agency, you should really consider picking them up. John Klingberg is someone, I didn't touch any of the Dallas D-core because I wasn't really sure how Heiskanen or Klingberg would do, and it looks like John Klingberg is about to have a career year, assuming he stays healthy and stays on this pace, or he doesn't even have to stay on that pace. That pace is unrealistic, but it looks like John Klingberg is going to have a fantastic year, so you probably can't get him in free agency, but it looks like if you got John Klingberg, you are going to love that pick. Joe Pavelski looks like he's having a bounce back year too so far, but a lot of these numbers are very small sample size of games, so do keep note. Joe Pavelski isn't going to be a 2-point per game guy. He's definitely not going to keep that up. I think Roope Hintz could be a point per game guy. Denis Gurianov maybe too, but they probably won't. But they're probably going to be very productive players to the point you can keep them on your roster, and they can be good mid-tier guys on your roster. So a lot to like from Dallas in the free agency right now. Another guy in free agency who I like is Joel Eriksson Ek. Now, this guy's playing with Kirill Kaprizov, who seems like a stud, and because he's the center on a line with Kaprizov, he scored 5 goals and 2 assists, and he's not a bad player in his own right. He's tied for the lead on the Wild with points, with 7 points in 8 games, and I see no reason why he can't be like a .75 point per game player, if you know what I mean. Like, so in 56 game season, he could get like 50 points. If he stays with Kaprizov, from what you've seen from Kaprizov, he looks like a star, and it looks like Eriksson Ek is having a breakout year as well. So I think Eriksson Ek, who's owned in 37% of leagues, could be worthy of a spot on your roster, and you should definitely consider picking him up. We then move on to a weird situation right here in Washington. Because of the COVID-19 protocols that were broke by the Russians on the Capitals, I guess, Vitek Vanecek has been giving a lot of playing time, and he has looked very good. He looked a little shaky in one of the games I actually saw him play that I watched live, but apparently in the games I didn't watch him play, and he has been fantastic. He does not have a loss on his resume, but it's an interesting situation because both goalies are very young, and it means that Ilya Samsonov might be thrown into a tandem if Vitek Vanecek continues putting up good numbers and getting results. NHL in a shortened season, you're going to ride the hot hand, and if Ilya Samsonov comes back and Vitek Vanecek is still riding high, I see no reason why the Capitals might not ride Vitek Vanecek. And, sometimes goalies in this league grab onto the reins when an opportunity comes up and they don't let off. So I think if you have Ilya Samsonov and Vitek Vanecek is available in your free agency, scoop up Vitek Vanecek and see how it plays out. Definitely something to watch. I'm not telling you to pick up Vitek Vanecek because there's not a big sample size on how good he is. He's played 6 career games. He has 4 wins, no losses. So it looks good so far, but again, very small sample size, and it's something you really have to watch if you were Ilya Samsonov drafter, I guess. The last person I guess I started with Winnipeg, I'll end with Winnipeg. I think Andrew Kopp is becoming an ownable player right now. Third on the Jets in points, 9 in 7 games. He's going to be on line with Ellers, who I think for my money is the best player on the Jets offensively, talent-wise. That might be controversial, but from what I've seen from them in the playoffs last year and so far this year, he seems like the most dynamic player with the puck on that team, and that is a bold statement considering you got Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler, but I think Ellers might be the guy there. And Kopp is going to be on the wing with him and Dubois, it looks like. So I think Kopp might, just by being around good company and not being a bad player himself, is going to put up fantasy worthy of owning numbers. So definitely Andrew Kopp, someone who is worthy of picking up if you're looking for back end of the roster talent here. That's everyone who I wanted to talk about in today's video. If there's someone you want me to talk about in the video on Monday, please drop a comment down below. I will respond to it if I don't put it in the video. If I'm going to put it in the video, I will put a comment under it saying it will be in the next video. But that's all I have for you today. I hope your fantasy hockey teams are winning. I hope you're enjoying the hockey. I'm enjoying the hockey. I'll see you in the next video. Be sure to like the video, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. Enjoy the hockey.